Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we're celebrating a very special day. Today we are celebrating Embrace Your Geekiness Day. July 13th has really been set aside so we can celebrate our geeky side. And I will tell you, we all have one. We all have that detail-oriented kind of geeky side. Sometimes it comes out for a lot of people in a lot of different ways, but it's not just really a geekiness. It's one of those, it's kind of like our thriving on technology and what's coming out new or different or better than what we've had in the past. That's kind of the cool part. Every time there's a new invention, every time there's something new that we're kind of like, oh, I didn't even know we could do this. I didn't even know there was a product that did this. That's kind of really embracing our geeky side, our kind of like, I had no idea that we could do this. This is the fun part. Now, I will tell you that there's a lot of movies that celebrate this as well. Of course, like Star Trek and Star Wars and Harry Potter, and kind of like that geeky Lord of the Rings kind of like, go out and go on an adventure. But I will tell you, so many times it's really our geeky side that gets us through. It's the side of us, kind of that inner geek that comes out, that really helps us move through and kind of think through a lot of problems and issues. And that's kind of the part that I really want to talk about today, is kind of really that geekiness side, that side of kind of like, let's come at this problem from a completely different point of view, is the part where we end up solving some really amazing problems. So many times we kind of think about it like always the same direction, always the same way. Let's fix it this way. Let's fix it that way. And sometimes when we look at a problem from a different perspective, kind of that 180 degrees off, or kind of in a different way than we have in the past, wow, it changes so much. It changes our perspective. It changes how we thought things should work, and now they work differently. It really just allows our brain to kind of explore and new and change and modify. And every time we think of something differently, or we've kind of got that aha moment, or that little light bulb goes off over our head, this is the time that we should be celebrating, because it's our way that our brain is growing and shaping and changing ways that we've already learned how to think, and they're modifying them to make them faster. One of my favorite things to do is to really understand how people's brains work, and kind of like the weird part of like, how does someone solve a problem? When you're given a problem or an issue, how do you solve it? How do you work through it? And this is a kind of a day to kind of think about that in reverse. Kind of like, I normally would solve it this way, so how can I approach this problem from a different angle and maybe get a different solution? Because so many times we come at the same problem the same way, and we never even consider that there's a different way or another option of how to solve or deal with this problem. That's kind of the fun part. I think it's really interesting when people really celebrate that for us, when people really celebrate that energy for us of kind of like, what is it that we could learn differently? And so many times it's really an inner thing instead of an outer thing. Now, sometimes the input comes from an outer thing, but how we think about it is our part of that. How do we think about this? How we deal with issues or problems or finding new solutions to issues are really making our brains grow, and we learn so differently from other people. And I think that's kind of the fun part, is when you watch how someone solves a problem or how someone deals with something in a different way. Now we kind of get to learn that way from them, and that's kind of the cool part. So let's do some angel cards and hopefully get us a little bit deeper inside, let's do it this way, into kind of like, how do we do this? How do we solve these problems? How do we deal with these issues or things that we might consider an issue, but maybe they're not an issue. Maybe they're meant to just really teach us how to work through issues differently. Let's see. The first one's popping forward is answered prayers. So many times we ask for prayers to be answered, and then we kind of forget about them. We're kind of like, okay, they're gone. It's kind of like, put it in the mail, there, it's over with. But at the same time, it's kind of the fun part, is like, when it comes back to us and we get to learn something differently in a different manner or way than we did in the past, that can be really amazing as well. Divine guidance. So many times we're asking for divine guidance of like, solve this problem quickly, solve this problem efficiently, and so I can move forward. But really working through that problem is going to make our brains work in a different way, make us smarter at the end, and sometimes we can come up with some really amazing solutions all on our own. Let's see. This one, I got 2 or 3 of them popping. Abundance. When we really think about like how to solve problems and how to work through problems, it really does allow us to think about things differently. And sometimes it also gives us a different perspective. If we're dealing with something that someone else has dealt with, and we might have thought, oh, they're an idiot, they don't know how to work it. But when we have that same problem coming at us or something similar, it's like, oh, maybe I can understand a little bit differently than I did before, because now a similar problem is coming at me, and now I have to make that really come to life. I have to really make this solution come forward for me. The last one is forgiveness. Forgive yourself that you haven't looked at things differently. Forgive yourself that you haven't really looked at problems from a different perspective, because I think that's the really cool part of like watching how someone's brain works and how someone really solves problems and issues, because it not only teaches you about you, but it teaches you about them as well. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.